Okay, it says we're live. Are we live? Is there anybody here? Is it just me? I think so. All right, guys. Well, it's Friday, so it's time for Homestead Happenings. I just got the notification that we're live. So, Nicole is obviously not present, so I'm winging this by myself. And it's been a busy week, so I'll kind of go through some of the stuff that's been going on, but things are waking up, babies are coming, lots of babies are coming, all the events are coming, like yeah, busy. So anyway, I'm got notes, so I'm just gonna kind of go through the list and I don't know, elaborate as I go. But the first thing that we usually cover is featured forage, and things are definitely starting to wake up. The trees are kind of hit or miss. It's kind of interesting, going up into the pasture right now because there's different patches of, it's heavy cedar over here and it's old hardwoods over there. And so you got certain trees that are waking up and there's white flowers and purple flowers and just some trees putting on buds. And so it's interesting to as you're going through just to see what's waking up and what's not. And then of course all of the weeds are also waking up, so that's another interesting thing to see. It's one of the fights that I've had on this property is, certain segments of the property were completely overtaken by invasive species or just weeds in general. So it's interesting with spring coming on this year to see what exactly is coming up. I was actually just down on the back side of the driveway looking at an area that used to be covered in invasive vines and then nothing really grew there and now there's a decent amount of grass. So just actually seeing all of that stuff coming up is interesting. So anyway, livestock. Yeah, it's been a week with actually it's been more like 2 weeks with livestock. So we had the issue with the rabbits and ear mites and all that and got some medication into them, so they are looking a lot better. Oh, it's time for livestock. Yes. And this is where we get to actually have livestock on the camera. If you're listening to this on the audio, sucks to be you. You should go subscribe to the YouTube channel too. But this is my baby girl. So she is one of two sets of triplets that we just had, or the sheep just had. And this one got, I don't know if she was rejected or she just wasn't getting enough or what the deal was, but anyway, she got pulled and we're not exactly sure how much colostrum she got, which is going to be the deciding factor of whether she makes it. And so there was a discussion about naming her. I actually think I have a name picked out for her, but if she's not going to make it, it'll be about 2 weeks when she won't make it. So not next Friday, but the Friday after, if she's still with us, I will mention the name. But she is getting bottle fed, And she's also at night, because it's still really cool out and she doesn't have anybody to cuddle with and share body heat, she's staying in the house in a dog crate. And then I'm trying as much as possible to take her outside during the day and let her be a sheep. And so, usually she'll kind of run around a little bit and then find a spot up against something and just kind of take a nap. But it's interesting when you first take her out, it's really entertaining because she tries to follow you everywhere. So, anyway, so we've got the two sets of triplets that were born, and one of the sets I actually went over there and then left and then came back like an hour later, and one of them was on the ground. Watched the second one be born, and then watched the third one. And then I think it was the next day or the day after, like I didn't make it over there first thing in the morning and went back over to just check on everybody to see, anybody in labor, are there more sheep coming? And there was another set of 3 sheep on the ground. And one mom was inside the fence, one mom was outside the fence. There was 2 babies outside the fence, one of which clearly belonged with the mom that was inside the fence. And the others, it was just confusing. So we managed to get everybody back into the same paddock, and I actually opened up their previous paddock so that they have access to 2 paddocks right now, and everybody reintegrated, and proper babies got with proper mama. And that was when we identified this one as not really getting in to get milk. So that was when we pulled her. And then we've got another one that is imminent ish, maybe. Not sure yet. Still trying to decide on her. And I had 2 of the younger ones that apparently were just old enough to get bred that got bred. One of them did not. And I got up this morning and walked over first thing to check on them because we've got one of the younger ones that was pregnant was over here and she was in labor. And no idea how long she had been in labor. I checked her last night before I went to bed. So, you got to figure she could have been in labor for 5 or 6 hours at this point. So we wound up having to assist with that one because she didn't dilate enough. And it's something that I really want to avoid, like with livestock, is having to intervene. Like it's something that I don't want to do. And that was honestly probably a mistake on my part because I should have had them separate from the rams to prevent them from getting pregnant this early. So yesterday when we were up on the hill, we kind of were talking about what we're doing in the near future. And there's a possibility we might bring a ram in sometime in like May-ish, but probably not. And more than likely what we're going to do is split the flock in 2 in September, and we'll have all of the younger girls in one pasture and the older ones in another, and then we'll put the rams in with the older ones, and that should get all of the older ones synced up on the same schedule and put it about this time next year with them all giving birth. And so it's all at the same time instead of this guessing game of, well, maybe that one didn't get pregnant when we put the ram back over there the last time because she had her babies a little bit later. So we were kind of talking through that a little bit yesterday and then just kind of trying to plan that out so that it starts to get a little bit more synced up, which is way better than it was before because I think Amy and Allie, the two that just gave birth to triplets, the last time that they gave birth, they were 2 months apart, I think. And this was like maybe 2 days apart. So that is getting a lot better. And then, oh yeah, time investment for handling them. That's one thing with this bottle fed sheep is she will definitely be a lot more handleable. Whereas all of the others, it's kind of hit or miss. Like if I go to give them pellets at night, they'll get close to me. But if it's just like I'm walking up to them, like they're standoffish, they'll let me get close, but not like close enough to touch them. Which is an issue when you, say, have to assist with a birth or something. So, fortunately, this morning where Cloudy was, there was a fence in one area, and then like 10 feet away, running parallel with that fence, there was a line of basically full on trees that were down, and I just piled them up in a swale-ish kind of a thing. So Nicole got on one side and I got on the other, and I managed to actually walk up to her close enough that I could reach out and grab her collar because we've got a dog collar on her right now. And she did not like that at first. And then once I actually got down and, I got one arm kind of around her and another arm under her neck. And then I put my leg up against the front of her chest and she kind of calmed down a little bit. And we were able to get in and do what we needed to do with her. But I would prefer to be able to do that all the time. Just so that, now that, that part is over with, she's back to, yeah, you don't need to get that close to me. So it's better when you do that when they're young. It is still possible to do it when they're older like this. It just takes a lot of time. So shepherd's hook might help. I was actually thinking about a lasso the other day. I'm like, yeah, this is totally why cowboys use lassos. So, actually, just a stick does help. Um, there's usually something on the ground, or like today, there was a Chinese sumac shoot that I just broke off. And, when you hold it straight out to your side, it makes you really big to a sheep. So you can it makes it a little bit easier to herd them. But anyway, moving on to grow. So apparently the peas are up. I have no idea what that actually means. Other than I know she planted peas in the garden and that stuff is coming up. She also got the potatoes are in, and then the seedlings are up. So she's got in the kitchen right now, she's got a tray of a ton of different seedlings under a grow light. And the way she's doing it right now is you have the actual shelf, and then on top of the shelf is a cardboard box size varies, and then the tray on top of the box, and the height of the box is what she's using to set the distance from the lights. So I think all of the seedlings are actually up. And so, we'll start playing seed roulette here in the very near future because, like, time is flying right now. Like, it seems like last week we were in the middle of a deep freeze in January, and now it's almost April, and all of the events are starting up, as well as all of the plants. So, I was actually looking at some of the stuff I have from the beds that I have from last year, and like all of the weeds are starting to come up. So in the morning when I'm having a cup of coffee, I'll just walk by one of the beds and sit there and plot box elder sprouts out of there and whatever other weeds are happening to come up. So I'm trying to decide right now which beds I'm going to actually focus on this year because there's one big bed in front of the cabin that I'm probably not really going to use that much. I will probably put something in there, but I'm definitely not going to maintain that one like I normally do because I've got so much other stuff going on. And that one's in the process of being reworked anyway. So um I will probably, like, with that bed, I'll probably make some progress on, you know, reworking that one this year, but I'm not going to really heavily plant into it. So I'm also, this time of year, I'm trying to make those kinds of determinations as far as what I'm going to do and what plants I'm going to put where. So this is about the time of year that I am doing that kind of thing. I was also looking today at one of the beds that I put in last year. I call it the rock garden because it's kind of a unique shape. One part of it's a V shape, and it's like this section that's 6 to 10 inches wide, and there's three massive rocks, and so it goes kind of in a V shape in between these three rocks. And I put some rosemary in there last year. I put some oregano, and what else did I put in there? I put something else in there. And I kind of walked by today and was looking, and it's like, yeah, the rosemary definitely got hammered by that freeze, but I had covered it in like 3 inches of pine shavings. So it's actually still alive. It looks like hammered dog manure, but it's still alive. So I have hopes for that one, and all of the oregano and everything that I put in there is actually still alive, and one side of that is just blowing up. So I'm probably just gonna let it take over that whole area. So that's just something else that I'm kind of doing at this time of year. But anyway, moving on. Infrastructure. So we got half of her mini split installed. And then we got this part of it installed in the house. Then there was a long discussion about outside the house where the main part of the unit was going to go and how we're putting it in because it's like there's not a good spot to put it because it's behind the house where it used to be underground, and now there's a rock wall there, and there's basically slab rock and drainage issues and that I'm still working on. And so it's like the best place to put it is right where the low spot is. And it's like, okay, how can we A, we don't want this thing going underwater. B, we don't want it blocking the low spot. So I kind of had a plan as to what I was going to do. And Steve came over and we got talking about it. And somehow or another, through that conversation, the idea came up about taking a cinder block, turning it sideways, and stacking 2 or 3 high like that so that the water can pass through the cinder block. So I actually got that part installed. So that part is now ready. The problem is now getting the actual unit back there because the bottom of that area is also covered in all of the clay erosion, basically from higher up, and it's always sopping wet. So it's slippery, it's uneven, it's rocky, and you're trying to carry a big, heavy thing. But yeah, no, that's just so I have an idea as to possibly bringing it in because there's also what we call the tunnel, which is I have no idea what this was originally for, but it's like 5 or 6 feet wide and about 3.5, 4 feet tall, attached to the back of the house. Don't know why, but anyway, it's got a concrete roof. So the idea that I have is to possibly get it over to the edge of that, get it up onto that concrete roof, and then we can just walk across the top of the roof and then hop down and just pick it up off the roof and lower it down to where it's going to go. And that will probably be a lot easier than trying to carry it through a clay slick. So, clay slicks are fun if you're in a Toyota pickup truck. Other than that, not so much. And they can also be not fun on a Toyota pickup truck. Ask me how I know. But anyway, um, other than that, I am still completely consumed in fencing as far as infrastructure goes. So it's been fairly time consuming, partially because it's one of those deals like you never know around here what you're actually going to do until you try to dig the hole. Because, you might have 3 inches of dirt, you might have 6 inches of dirt, you might have 10 feet of dirt. You just don't know until you try to dig the hole. So, one of the posts that I went to put in the other day, I managed to get down about 1.5 feet, and then it was straight slab granite. So it's like, okay, what am I gonna do with this situation? And then there was one spot where I was expecting to hit slab rock, and I made it, I don't know, 3 feet in the ground, and it was just beautiful, gorgeous, like shove it in your face and smell it soil. Like, ooh, that was some good soil. So those were really easy, but it's kind of one of those deals where you never know what you're going to do until you try to dig the hole. So, and then there's also lots of weird angles and stacking rocks and all that kind of thing. There was an area that I basically had to build about a 4 foot long, foot high rock wall because it would have been more than big enough for my dog to be like, oh, there's a hole there. There may as well not be a fence there. So I can just go right under. And I mean, same thing like with when you're putting the sheep in there, everybody's like, sheep don't crawl. I'm like, I literally watched a sheep try to crawl through the duct door, which is like a 6-inch by 6-inch hole in the fence. Like, head all the way through, entire neck, shoulders pressed up against the fence, trying to see if he could fit. Like, yeah, sheep will crawl. So, anyway, but we are getting close to getting the perimeter fence around the core part of Nicole's property finished. I'm kind of down to some of the weird areas. Like, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do for a couple of gates. There's a spot where I know what I'm doing for a gate, but I need to put one more post in over there, that kind of thing. And then in the pasture, I also ran a bunch of 2-strand aluminum or steel galvanized wire as perimeter fence, as well as through a couple of other areas of that pasture, and that's making it so much easier to rotate the sheep over there. But that fencing is also almost done. I've got a tree that needs to get dropped, and then I can run the last section of that. So anyway, moving on. Community. So seed exchange. We had, I don't know how much she actually put this out on socials, but we did a seed exchange the other day. So there was more than enough seed to go around, especially considering we didn't have a lot of people show up. But, smaller events can be good as well. So it was definitely a chance, you get to have really good conversations when it's a lighter crowd. So that was nice, and kind of catching up with a couple of people that we haven't seen in a while. So we had that, and there was obviously way more seed than was needed because we have a ton that we get from somebody else. So we had that, and then she put in the notes that the next event is April 13th, which is a Saturday. That's all I've got. I have no idea what we're doing. So I'm sure there will be some more information coming on that, but yeah, I can't tell you what it's going to be. So anyway, and Holler Neighbor dinner. I wasn't even aware that we were doing that. I guess I missed that memo. So I can't really elaborate on that. So anyway, the last segment that we've got is finances. And right now we are kind of spending a little bit of money. I just bit a bullet and bought a couple of more reels for the electric fence with a spool of wire, and it's just going to make my life a little bit easier to not have to do the goat circus of trying to, move the sheep over here, run up there really quick and pull a reel and run down there and restring the last wire or something. So it's definitely worth the money on that. And then obviously we have a bottle fed sheep, so we're spending a little bit of money on, we had to go buy the bottles and the milk and whatever else we happened to buy. We got some colostrum replacement, which, key point when you're doing that, make sure it's a replacement and not a supplement. Because that was the first thing. Was I went to the store and what they handed me was a supplement, not a replacement. So I had to go back to the store. So, but we are spending a little bit of money on that. But now we have the bottles so that the next time this happens, we don't have to go buy that. And we will probably have some leftover, which will probably get put into mason jars and vacuum sealed so that we have a little bit of that for the next time around. And then we might or might not be paying a vet to come out to look at Cloudy just to make sure she's okay from all of the stuff that happened this morning. So there's that. Maybe. We'll see. But anyway, that's all I've got on my notes for today. So a little bit shorter of a thing for today, but hopefully I am really hoping that next week calms down because we could use a little bit of a break before we spool up for all of the events in April. So, yeah, SRF is coming quick. If you haven't got your tickets for that, you should come to SRF. I have a feeling that this is going to be a really good one. Just a gut feeling, but there's also going to be a lot of cool people there. So, anyway, well, I think that's about all I got today. I don't see any questions, so I guess I'm probably going to go check on some sheep and see how everybody's doing. So, anyway, till next time, guys, bye.